Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host Jay, and this is The Objective. I want to thank you for tuning in to Season 2, Episode 21 of the Let's Talk Headlines series. Now, if you haven't as yet, be sure to visit www.politicalstorm.com. On that website, you will find your daily dose of conservative, independent media. I upload my content there as well as a bunch of great other content creators. So be sure, if you do support independent media, to check out www.politicalstorm.com. Also, if you have Facebook, like us on Political Storm, the Facebook page. For myself personally, if you haven't as yet, be sure to visit me on Instagram at The Objective Podcast and hit that follow button. I love to engage with everybody, people who agree, people who don't agree. And finally, on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and like and drop comments on my YouTube page under the same handle, The Objective Podcast. Thank you guys for your continued support. Now, let's get into the show today. We have a pretty entertaining show. The first story is going to involve Georgia State Representative Erica Renee Thomas. Now, even saying that name, I'm sure you guys know exactly where this story is going. There was a incident July 19, 2019. Now, when I say an incident, this is an incident that would happen every single day for every normal person. It's a very simple, conflict that does happen. And, sometimes it could turn sour, but nevertheless, it's nothing that requires the attention that this is getting right now. The only reason that it's getting so much attention is because you have a Democrat state representative, and there are allegations of racial hate or a hate crime occurring. This is the era of Jussie Smollett. You will soon see. Now, Erica Thomas, she attended this Publix, and she's alleging that she's 9 months pregnant. She had more items than would be permitted in the express lane at the grocery store. Those grocery stores, they have the express lane, 10 items less. And then they have the other normal lanes for people who have more grocery. She's alleging that she went through that express lane with about 15 items. And she was berated by this man who she identifies as white. And this man told her, this is coming after President Trump's remarks to the squad, that if you don't like this country, get the hell out. She is stating that this white supremacist at the Publix grocery store berated her, swore at her, and told her to go back to where she came from. Now, she left and she put on, she dropped a video. I think she was on Facebook Live. But on Twitter, on July 19, 2019 at 8:20 p.m., she tweeted, "Today I was verbally assaulted in the grocery store by a white man who told me I was a lazy SOB and to go back to where I came from because I had too many items in the express lane. My husband wasn't there to defend me because he is on active duty serving the country. I came from USA." Now, this, as you would imagine, would cause and prompt an uproar on social media, the news media alike. Now, you have Beth Moore, another Georgia House representative. She said, she tweeted in response to this, "Standing with my colleague, Georgia Rep. Erica Thomas, when the president speaks, the world listens. That power must be used responsibly. Instead, DJT uses it to sow hatred and contempt." DJT meaning Donald J. Trump. "We must reject that message to prevent it from further infecting our community." So you're having a lot of, high profile people, even Beto O'Rourke. I'll read this quickly for you guys. "These are the consequences of a president who foments hate every day and sees our diversity not as a strength, but as a weakness. Erica, thank you for serving your state, and thanks to your husband for serving our country. We are better than this, and together we will prove it." Now, folks, does this ring any bells? Does this remind you of a certain situation, MAGA country perhaps, where all of these celebrities and these political, these politicians come into the limelight and the spotlight after these alleged hate crimes, and they're so quick to condemn the president. They're so quick to get their little tweets out that usually and typically return to bite them in the rear end. Now, this story, obviously, like I said, it would, cause waves within the news cycle. Now, the funny thing, this is where things get interesting, because the male who is being accused of being a white supremacist and saying racist comments, telling her to go back to her country, he actually identified himself. His name is Eric Sparks. And Mr. Eric Sparks, there's a lot I need to tell you about Eric Sparks, but this is so ironic, and this should tell us something. Eric Sparks came out and he said, you know what happened was, and he says, I have the CCTV. The officers looked at the CCTV and it will exonerate me. He said he went, after seeing this lady go through the express lane with, 15 to 20 items. He went to staff, talked to them. And then he said to her, not to be rude, but that lane is for 10 items or less. And then he's alleging now, only these two don't know the truth, but he's alleging that Erica Thompson began to berate him and basically tore into him, which prompted him, and this is at his own admission, to say, he said, you are a lazy little, and the B word. Completely inappropriate, right? Unfortunately, this happens this is a normal interaction. I don't know where you're from or, what kind of interactions you have with, rude people on a daily basis, but this is typically normal. It's distasteful. It's not right. No woman should be called that word. But he admits to saying that. He denies saying anything about go back. As a matter of fact, Mr. Sparks was having a press conference with the media that was crashed by Erica Thomas, and she said, "No, you don't get a spotlight." I'll actually play a little bit of the video in the coming break here. But she says, you don't get a spotlight. And then they kind of go at it. Guys, if you haven't seen this video, I'm going to put in the link. Make sure you click the video. It's about 15 minutes long. It is ridiculous. And it comes out. Eric Sparks, he says, listen, lady, first of all, I'm not white. She says, it doesn't matter what you are. She's like, yeah, you are white. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's like, my mom was Cuban. She didn't speak a lick of English. And she raised me my entire life. So this is a Cuban American who's being accused of white supremacy. And not only that, he is a Democrat, a registered Democrat who's voted Democrat all his life, he said, I probably even voted for you if you were in my district just because you had the D on your ticket. Unbelievable. He said, I'm not a racist. I'm anti-Trump. You could check my Facebook page, all my posts. Like, I hate Trump. That's not me. And the news anchors are saying, well, do you think it was appropriate to call her the B word, a lady of B word? And he's like, no. He's like, it wasn't right. Like, this is a normal guy. This is obviously what he said was distasteful, but it's a long way from, being a distasteful person or making a rude comment and then being racist. And it just goes to show the world that the Democrats, the progressives are making is one that will be unlivable. A world in which the only way people will be able to live together is to be completely silent, not to interact with one another, where diversity of thought is seen as a threat. Erica Thomas said that she feared for her life, and she's actually seeking legal ramifications and legal punishment against Mr. Sparks, a normal man who had no idea who she was or that she was even pregnant, who was just pissed off that she took more items than she should have through the express lane when there were two other lanes that were open. That was his crime. And now he has the full weight of the NA or NAACP, the Democrat Party, the elites in left-wing politics against him. A normal little Democrat man. This is a normal man who has voted Democrats all his life and who even said that he will continue to vote for the Democrats all of life. Now is in the vice grips of this progressive machine. And we're going to see this continues to happen. Now I said this is the era of Smollett, where, something has to be right where in this society, in American society, something must be right where people are having to stretch and reach for hate crimes, to create hate crimes, where they have to sensationalize little normal interactions to scream racism. There must be something right going on, and we must have reached to a landmark and a milestone where people now have to make up hate crimes. They have to embellish normal interactions in order to fit a narrative. Folks, I'm going to let you watch a little bit of that interaction between Erica Thomas and Eric Sparks. Please do enjoy. And when you get a minute, when you get 15 minutes, watch the whole thing. We'll be back in a second with 2 more stories.
Went up to the lady, which I did not know her name, did not know her stature as a state legislature or anything, and asked her.
You don't get a spotlight. You don't get anything at all because you degraded me and you paraded me, and everybody needs to see your face on camera. Right? Yes, I know it's on camera, and everybody needs to know that what you did to me, and what you did to me as a woman that is 9 months pregnant, and you think you're going to get away with this? No, you're not. You are going to jail. And this speaks for every. Oh no, I'm showing myself. This speaks for every black, brown, and any woman that's out there that's 9 months pregnant, and a white man comes up to you and calls you a son of I don't care what you are. Yes, you are. If anybody comes up to you and calls you a son of it, I am facing the man that degraded me and berated me, and I'm not crying. No, I'm not. I'm standing right in front of you. And if you know how you made me feel yesterday, if you know how you made my daughter feel,
back off before I call the police.
Call the police right now because they are looking for you.
I already talked to them.
It's okay. I am so happy that you're here. And I'm happy that everybody needs to see this man that did this to me.
I was raised with a Cuban grandmother who didn't speak any English. In the late 60s and 70s, I felt racism and prejudice. I'm not playing the victim. This woman, Ms. Thomas, is playing the victim for political purposes because she's a state legislature. I'm a Democrat, number one. I vote Democrat party line. Number two, proven facts can be proven. My Facebook, I will make it public. Proven facts. All my statements are anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-racism, anti-bigotry. This lady does not know me. She's using this to get on camera for her political purposes.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Let's Talk Headlines podcast, episode 21, season 2. I am your host, Jay, and I want to thank you for sticking around for the second segment. Now, we have 2 things we want to talk about. The last thing we're going to talk about is going to be my prediction for the Mueller testimony tomorrow. That's going to be Wednesday. Unfortunately, I'm so upset because I actually work tomorrow, and this is the most anticipated hearing that will be taking place. And I have a little bit of a prediction. It will be at the tail end of this episode. It's not going to be very long. It's going to be quite general, actually, but it's going to be what I predict will happen tomorrow. Now, before we get into that, there was a story that also made me smile. Now, that story in the first segment with Erica and Eric Sparks. Oh, man, let me tell you something, guys. I was watching the interview and I was dying. But this is one of those things that kind of put a smile on my face because it's so ironic. And this story is involving Bernie Sanders. And, you know how everyone knows Bernie Sanders he's pushing for hiring the minimum wage. He wanted the minimum wage to be $15 an hour. That's he fought for that. $15 an hour. Everybody should be able to work a living wage. But it just ironically happened that his own campaign staff are not making that $15 an hour. They're actually working at least 60 hours a week at about $13 an hour or less. And so they kind of had it. They said, wait a second, you're a champion for increasing the minimum wage, but now you're working us like slaves. You're not even giving us the minimum wage. And they came out with a statement, went to the media, which is absolutely horrible. This is a horrible situation for Sanders. And Sanders, he actually replied. Here, I'll read this. This is from Town Hall. Unionized campaign organizers working for Senator Sanders' presidential effort are battling with its management, arguing that the compensation and treatment they are receiving does not meet the standards Sanders espouses. In his rhetoric, according to internal communications, campaign field hires have demanded an annual salary they say would be equivalent to a $15 an hour wage, which Sanders for 2 years said should be the federal minimum. So Sanders responded to these complaints against him from his campaign, saying, okay, I'll guarantee you $15 an hour, but I will cut your hours. In order to guarantee you getting $15 an hour, I'm going to have to cut your hours. Now, this is ironic because this is exactly what will happen on a national level. If you keep on raising that minimum wage, in order for small businesses and businesses in general to support that and to afford that, they're going to need to cut the hours of their employees. So yes, if you want $100 an hour, you're going to be working a lot less hours. You'll be going to work for 2 hours. It's economics. You can't have everything. There needs to be a balance. Is there a minimum wage? Is there room for the minimum wage to be raised? Perhaps. But do you have to do it responsibly, taking the complexities of it all into consideration? Absolutely. And here we're seeing with Bernie Sanders and his campaign where, his political rhetoric is saying, we need to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. And all the while he's paying his guys and gals less than that who are on his campaign. What a hypocrite. I'm sure he just red-pilled his campaign. And I'm sure they're going to look at the ideas that they're working to promote and, give it a second look. It's easy to espouse this sort of stuff. It's easy to yell it out. It sounds good, and it may gain the attention of the common consumer who doesn't look deeply into the economics and doesn't look deeply into the consequences of such actions. But when it comes down to it, look what we have here. It was only a matter of time before this happened. But what's even crazier? Rashida Tlaib, one member of the squad, calls for a $20 minimum wage. Oh my gosh. Do these people not learn? She's asking for $20. What do you think that will do to the workforce? People are going to get less. In the end of the day, it's all going to balance out. You're going to be taking the same, if not less, home. You're going to be working less hours. Man. Anyways, guys, definitely check that story out. Finally, we come to the special counsel Robert Mueller's testimony tomorrow, which will be January 24th. Now, this, like I said previously, is going to be the most anticipated hearing this year. Probably even the year before. And for a few years to come. Even CNN stated that the Mueller testimony will either make or break the Democrats. They have put all their chips on the table. This is their final move. They will try to prolong it. They will try to sensationalize. They will try to insinuate. They will try to do many things that may be successful in the court of public opinion, but in the court of law, to pass that threshold of actually being a legal issue with legal consequences, not even close. So my prediction for tomorrow, what to expect. Now, obviously, I know the Republicans, Jim Jordan, Doug Collins, they're going to have many questions, especially in relation to the FISA court abuses. Those answers do not expect to get any substantial answer based on those topics. When it comes to FISA, when it comes to the secret courts, he's not gonna expound on that at all. Though it's going to be very anticlimactic. Not going to give much information. He may say, I will testify in a closed door setting where the public isn't privy to what's going on. The Democrats are going to ask him, is the only reason you didn't charge Trump because it's been a long-standing policy that a sitting president cannot be charged. Now, this is what the Democrats are going to harp on. And I believe Mueller may try to fall back on that as a justification for not charging Trump. We'll see how that goes. But essentially, the Democrats are going to use that to say, oh, so he did commit criminal acts. You just didn't charge him because of a long-standing policy. So if you could charge him, you would have. And I think they'll use that as a launch pad to push forward and articulate articles of impeachment. That's my assessment. And I believe that's the route they will take. They will try to use that as the pivot point for them to launch yet again articles of impeachment. 3 times they failed already. But the Mueller, I believe, will be very tight-lipped when it comes to the Republicans' questions, because objectively speaking, the Republicans have the best, hands down, minds, I believe, when it comes to being informed and asking the right questions. Jim Jordan, Doug Collins, who else can I think of right now? Those two for sure. Mueller is going to need some help. And as a matter of fact, he actually tried to get some help because he's requesting that his deputy, Aaron Zebley, be able to testify with him. Now, this, according to CNN here, Doug Collins accused Democrats of adding a surprise witness and said that allowing Zebley to testify would be an unprecedented decision to allow a witness's counsel to both advise him privately and simultaneously testify alongside him. So I don't know if you've ever seen some of these testimonies or the congressional hearings, but sometimes the person being questioned, they can refer, like they look back to their lawyer and they kind of privately discuss, and then he answers a question. That's normal. I've seen that multiple times. What he's asking here is that his counsel is beside him, who he can actually have private conversation with, and his lawyer is testifying as well, if that makes any sense. So it is unprecedented, no doubt about that, and that is very shifty. But I think it will be permitted because all the Republicans can do right now, the minority can do, is object. And with that, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. Definitely, like I said, check out those videos in the description that I was referencing today. And also take the time to watch the special counsel testify tomorrow before Congress. There's much to learn, and you don't want to only take in the sound bites that will be played on certain news media channels. You want to make sure you get a holistic view of what happened. So whatever you do, make it your goal to be objective. Have a good night.